Because The View is live. Modern Royal Family. The co-hosts break down the biggest, best, and most surprising ways Meghan and Harry broke the mold at their royal wedding.
Stand by me. Stand by me.
Then salute to a maverick. How Meghan's dad, Senator John McCain, is opening up about his service, sacrifice, life, and legacy like never before. Plus, a brand new View Your Deal. Let's light up Hot Topics with Whoopi, Sarah Haynes, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
A whole lot of Americans got up very early Saturday morning to watch the royal wedding of Meghan and Harry. They broke the mold in a bunch of different ways. Little black princess now. a little black princess going on.
It was. I didn't watch the whole thing, but
Right.
it's just heartwarming to see. You know, in this world that we're living in right now, where there's so much bigotry, so much racism, so much keep immigrants out, everybody has to be white and who can come in here, etc. To see this beautiful couple at the highest level of England's basic snob society pull this off.
Yeah.
You know, and that Harry, that adorable boy, wanted Fergie to come, his ex-girlfriend. I mean, I guess the statute of limitations on the toe sucking that Fergie did back in the day. You know, and it was just wonderful. I just loved seeing it.
Oh, well, the touches, they added the choir. Oh, and when he said, "You look amazing, I'm so lucky."
I know.
And
And he was crying. He had tears. Did you see that?
I did not watch it.
He wiped away a couple tears, he bit his lip, and then I got mad at Max, because I was like, you never did that. Like, I found myself he never looked at me that way. Like, you get a little annoyed at the way, I was like, why didn't you ever bite your lip when you looked at me?
It was just,
I'm no Meghan Markle.
With the tears coming from him.
Yeah,
I know, he wiped
it just seemed
that I
so
liked, yeah.
authentic and real. It was a fairy tale. I mean, I woke up at 4:30, of course, to watch it. I was like all in from the very beginning. But I thought what was so interesting was the way that they melded the English history and the African American history. I mean, this was a very black wedding, right? I mean, I felt like I was blacker than my wedding. But it was like, you know, you have the black choir singing Benny King, and it's a black gospel choir from Southeast London.
Choir.
And then you have the chaplain to the Queen addressing everyone, and she's a black Brit. Then you had, you know, the head of the Episcopalian Church, the first black head. And then what about the cellist, the wonderful 19-year-old cellist?
And the choice of this little light of mine
And this
was
little light
very...
of mine to leave, to leave the church. I just thought, my goodness. I spoke to my son's godfather, who's actually a black Brit, and he said he's not a royal watcher. Pierre, I know you're not, but he said the wedding was notable for the amount of attention to race that comes with it, and the world seeing this for more than just a royal wedding was important. He said Harry's a different bloke, but from what I've heard, and his mom raised them to embrace all cultures, so I'm not surprised by his choice.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so beautiful.
Meghan, did you watch it?
First of all, I will say that I think she's just stunning, and I thought it was, all the things you're saying are 100% true, and it is a great moment of sort of multiculturalism and all these things. I'm not a royal person. I want to show you something. So this is my living room in my house, or the entryway of my house. I actually keep pictures of our founding fathers, Washington, Jefferson, Franklin, and Hamilton, in my house. It feels a little weird to watch something embracing royalty. There you go, Alexander Hamilton, respect. It feels weird with our founding fathers watching me watch the royal wedding, where I was like, we're going to stay young, scrappy, and hungry. My country's going to stay this way. We're not going to be into royalty and everything.
But were you pulled in, though? Were you pulled in a little?
He bit his
I'm
lip.
trying very hard because she's American and she's cool.
Givenchy.
And she's cool, but
Gorgeous.
I'm so sorry. There's got to be somebody other than me that just wasn't as obsessed
Well,
with
don't you
this.
think the founding fathers are over it by now?
That statute of limitations is not.
Well, I'm just being honest, and I felt like I might be shamed for not being as obsessed with the royal wedding because people were really. My mother, by the way, had a whole party for it, like had a whole
of
thing.
course.
So
I was on the
Cindy
phone with
is
my
on a
friend.
totally different. She dressed up. She had crowns with her girlfriends, like totally dressed up. So my mother is on a completely different.
But you know,
That's a good-
we
field
were
than I
talking
am.
about the fact that
Look on her Instagram. Sorry, I couldn't bear to show the photo because it's embarrassing.
Really?
They're all wearing crowns.
My
and they're
mom,
like,
my mom had a little.
we were talking about the fact that Harry invited 2 of his ex-girlfriends.
Yes.
William apparently invited 5 of his ex-girlfriends
I
to
didn't
his
know he
wedding
dated
to
that
Kate.
much.
Yeah, he got
for 100
around.
years.
And Charles had Camilla at the wedding to Diana. So I feel like the Brits are probably
more
less
evolved than
uptight
me.
and more evolved than
Not
we
me.
are. 'Cause I
Well, they
couldn't
have to.
that.
They have to move with the times, or they'll be obsolete.
Yeah.
They'll be extinct. You know, they've gotta.
They were
They were very impatient with their church service, though. Did you see the faces? As
I know.
He is like speaking of love and what we need, and they're kind of like, it's almost time to go.
The queen is like, is the crown on right now?
did you like it, Libby?
I didn't watch.
Stop! Thank God! Somebody other than me.
No, I didn't watch. Because I knew what was happening was everything I wanted to see happen,
Yeah.
as I said several weeks ago or months ago, you know, about the idea that, you know, little girls of color have always wanted to be princesses. And we, you know, we got one in a movie once, and, you know, I'll just leave that alone because it's our parent company and I don't want to lose my job this morning.
At least we got that. We did.
But the idea that now, when some little girl says she wants to be a princess, we can actually point to a princess. In England, where they always lead you to think, well, you can never, ever. Yes, we can. Yes, we did. And yes, we'll be right back.
Later, call to action. How Kelly Clarkson used last night's Billboard Music Awards to demand America gets real about the gun violence that's killing our kids. This week on The View, they shook up The Bachelor, now they shake up the table. Ari and Lauren stop by and reveal exclusive details about their upcoming wedding only to The View. And Michelle Wolf goes from roasting Washington to heating up Hot Topics in her first live television interview since that dinner. Plus, the one and only Snoop Dogg is coming to hang. This week on The View.
Ooh, heaven is a place on earth.
Still ahead, Senator John McCain sharing an intimate look into the biggest battles of his life. And it's a brand new View Your Deal.
So welcome back. I guess I should let this sink in for a second. After Friday's high school shooting in Texas, more American students have died from gun violence in 2018 than U.S. soldiers in combat. Kelly Clarkson addressed it at the open of last night's Billboard Music Awards. Take a look.
Once again, y'all, we're grieving for more kids that have died for just an absolute no reason at all. They also wanted me to do a moment of silence. And I'm so sick of moment of silence. Like, God, it's not working. Like, obviously. So, sorry. So why don't we not do a moment of silence? Why don't we do a moment of action? Why don't we do a moment of change? Why don't we change what's happening? Because it's horrible.
So I guess part of the question it becomes, how can you take action when no one agrees what the actual problem is? Take a look.
The disease in this case isn't the Second Amendment. The disease is youngsters who are steeped in a culture of violence. They've been drugged in many cases. Nearly all of these perpetrators are male, and they're young teenagers in most cases. Many of these young boys have been on Ritalin since they were in kindergarten.
We have devalued life, whether it's through abortion, whether it's the breakup of families, through violent movies, and particularly violent video games, which now outsell movies and music. It's not about the guns, it's about us.
And anyone who thinks that armed guards are the answer, they were there at the school, but it still took a half hour to catch this kid. So what is the problem, and where are the solutions? I don't think it's because we have abortion in the world. I don't think people are on Ritalin. And the thing that they didn't say is maybe we have to sort of say to people, maybe you need to lock your stuff up also.
Yeah.
Because this kid had a shotgun and a handgun. So it wasn't an AK-47.
Yeah.
It wasn't any of that.
No.
So what do you think?
Well, Malcolm Gladwell, the very famous thinker that has written many books, he has a very interesting take on this. He basically says that Klebold and Harris, who were the perpetrators of the Columbine, were the first ones to go out and do this. And every time it happens, the threshold for risk is lowered. So it's almost because when you think about it, and then this is really scary. He says,
I don't understand.
in other words, the first person who goes out there takes the biggest risk. And then after that, it's like, oh, I can do that too. So it's like when you get a divorce in your family, you're the first one in the family to get a divorce, and then the next one says, hey, I can get a divorce too. It's like that, where it becomes easier to do it. And that is frightening, because they talk about mental illness. Well, women are mentally ill in this country. They're not doing any of the shooting. People all over the world are mentally ill. They're not doing the shooting. It's a specific American thing that's going on right now. And it has to be dealt with on many, many levels, in my humble opinion, because I'm not an expert on this. But Malcolm Gladwell ends this with, and he's a very brilliant guy.
Is he a gun owner, though? I mean,
wait, let me read this. Let's not kid ourselves that if we passed the strictest gun control in the world, that we would end this particular kind of behavior. It has to be dealt with on various levels, not just guns, but guns certainly are indicated here too.
Well, I'm really tired of the blame game, and everybody's looking at every reason except the guns. I was looking it up this weekend, and they've blamed mental illness, thug culture, undocumented immigrants, Hollywood, unarmed teachers, video games, not having enough guns, the liberal media, gun-free zones, no school prayer, not enough faith. Now Oliver North, who's the new president of the NRA, is blaming Ritalin. You know, why can't we just look at the access to guns? That is a significant part of it. It's one part, but it's a significant part of it. And I'm just tired of, let's look at all over the place. Let's look at that.
But when we have this conversation before, we're always talking about gun control. And we said before that, okay, AR-15s, all semi-assault rifles, if they're banned, this won't happen. That's obviously not accurate in this case. He, by the way, also had a pipe bomb, a Molotov cocktail, and a carbon dioxide device, which, by the way, are things you can make in your house as well, like especially a carbon dioxide device, things you can find off the internet and you can make bombs. I want to say, Kelly Clarkson, I admire anyone who wants to go out and take a platform and speak on this issue. But for me, I also was like, okay, what does change mean to you? Because she said, I'm a proud gun owner. I have a concealed handgun license. In 2012, she says she has 9 guns, more than me, which is a thing, and sleeps with a Colt 45. So are you now for repealing? I'm curious, someone like that. Are you now for repealing the Second Amendment? What are
I don't think anyone's for that.
or whatever? But I didn't understand. I get it, a call to action. But okay, what do you mean, Kelly?
Well, I think it's everyone runs to their own corner. You've got people that jump right to, we need gun control, common sense laws, and other people jump straight to, let me protect the Second Amendment, as if there's no in between on those.
Because a lot of times it's jumped to that. That's the thing, not at this table, but other people, in the media, it is jumped to automatically that. I would also like to say is, what is it about, I know we don't want to talk about mental illness, but what is it about young boys in our culture who are rejected by girls, which is what happened in this specific situation, and then your only option that you think is to somehow go and commit a massacre at your school against that girl?
Let me just add one thing.
No disrespect, but Malcolm Gladwell's not the person I'm going
Everybody
to.
stop. Hold on, Brian. Can you let them know that we need another minute, please?
We'll do it when we come back. Can we come back?
We'll do it when we come back. We'll be right back.
On EBC.
So, when last we saw this group, they were in a deep discussion about what could be happening and what should be happening.
Well, I just wanted to jump in with one thing. I don't think there's one solution to this. I think it's very layered, as we've spoke to here at the table. But one thing that jumps out when you, Megan, were referring to Kelly Clarkson and what change would be for her. Change for me would be some simple things. Like right now, only in 11 states and Washington, D.C. require gun owners to file a police report if their gun is lost or stolen.
Yeah.
That to me, this gun was taken from his dad. Yeah, I don't know how fast or if this applies to this exact one, but how many guns are stolen constantly when it's not illegal to report your gun's missing?
Yeah.
That could help. Like those are things that aren't about taking the Second Amendment, but they seem very common sense to me.
And why can't you, this young man I think is 17, so why can't there be some sort of law where you have to lock up your guns if you have minors in the home so that they do
might
not
have been locked
access
up, but I think there should
guns.
be some penalty for
or some penalty if
gun owner.
If the gun owner.
The thing I'd like to see is just more folks actually saying, okay, I don't want to take your guns, but I don't like how this is going, so that we could at least have the conversation. Because I tell you, the kids out of Florida have sort of really put it to people and said, so what do we do? We're here, we want to talk. So I think if we could actually start to have the conversation, because nobody, excuse me, nobody, I think, wants to take people's guns. I think people just want to know what's the best thing to do.
Well, they could look to Connecticut for one thing.
I'm sorry.
Connecticut has experienced the fastest drop in violent crime of any state in the last 4 years because they've changed a whole bunch of laws since that horrible thing that happened to those little kids in Sandy Hook.
Well, I want to say first, it's no shade at Kelly Clarkson. I was just curious, given that it surprised me to find out that she's such an ardent gun owner.
Right.
I want to say also that that's great. These gun laws, again, if you think that like law-abiding gun owners, that's the point, is that they're law-abiding. This kid is a psychopath who went on a gun spree, or excuse me, a shooting spree, and the idea that like a law would necessarily have made a difference. He also had, again, a pipe bomb, a Molotov cocktail, carbon dioxide device. He had other weapons as well that would have caused a lot of damage. I don't know how much, you know, whatever he could cause, but like there's a larger issue as well. And to say like we can't talk about mental health, we should talk about mental health. There's young guys in this country that feel that they need to go on a killing spree when a girl rejects them.
Yeah, but
that is also a conversation that should take place.
But I noticed that most of the people in the Republican Party bring up mental health all the time. And my answer to that is there's mentally ill people. I said it before. All over the world, it only happens here. Why? They should be looking into that.
And we have to also always mention that mentally ill people are more likely to be the victims of violent crime rather than perpetrating violent crime.
But I think if you're going on a shooting spree at a school, you're not mentally well.
I feel like that's where it's layered, though. I think what you're saying here is it's all of these things coming together. I do think they're all part of the issue.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll be back.
Next, Megan's dad, Senator John McCain, opens up like never before about the battles of his past.
A missile took the wing off the airplane.
His present.
The Arizona senator has been diagnosed with a brain tumor.
And his fight for America's future.
We need to give the American people what they deserve, and right now, they're not getting it.
Springtime.
My father has never been shy about giving his opinion, but he's opening up in ways he never has before about his biggest professional and personal battles, with help from our next guest. Please welcome co-author of my father's new book, The Restless Wave, Mark Salter, and producer and director of the new HBO documentary, John McCain, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Teddy Kunhardt. Thanks, guys. It's weird to have you here, Mark, because I've known you literally my entire life. You met your wife in my dad's office. People call you my dad's alter ego.
Yeah.
And you've written every book, every speech of his forever. You guys were writing a different book, I remember, before he was diagnosed, and then it changed.
It did, yeah.
What was your first reaction when you heard he was diagnosed?
Well, your dad told me he had wanted to give that speech on the Senate floor even before he was diagnosed, and he had called about the speech, and I said, well, have you gotten the results back? And he said, yeah, and I said, what'd they say? Well, not good. And that's all he said at that time. I had to find out a couple of minutes later what he meant by that. But,
was that emotional?
Well, yes, when I found out what it is, sure. But when he said it to me, it was just typical your dad. You know, it's like the day he hired me. He talked to me about 20 things, and he said, oh, by the way, I'd like you to come work for me, too. You know, and then he walked off and did something else. So
Buried the lead.
He was very cavalier about it.
He went right back to talking about the speech. As you know, as you had strong feelings about it, he wanted to get back to Washington and make that speech and make that vote. So he just went right back to it and said, let's talk about the speech. And then we flew. You were on the plane, too. We all flew and we wrote the speech basically on the airplane, flying back with him. But
It's a great one, too. Teddy, you and your family are award-winning documentary filmmakers. You've done films about Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, Ted Kennedy. So it's not a shock to me that you're doing Senator McCain. There were 2 points that he wanted to get across in this film. Tell us what they were.
So when we went down to Arizona, I work with my brother and my father, both producer-directors, and we were walking with John, and we said, look, what do you want to accomplish? And he said, well, first and foremost, I want to tell the American people, I'm not perfect. I want you to show my imperfections. I want you to show when I screwed up. I want that to be public record. So he didn't want to hide anything. The second part, he said, and this was even more important, was that, the Senate needs to start working together. And Mark achieved that and with John in the speeches, but he really wants to pull the country back together. And if it's this, he kept on saying, this is my last fight. And we thought he meant cancer. And he said, no, it's about pulling the country back together.
And it's important to say, when you came to us about the documentary, he had just been diagnosed. And I remember having a conversation with you where I was like, we always do everything at an 11, so I guess we should document what it's like to have a family go through a terminal cancer diagnosis in this way. And then I remember before you came, I was like, if these guys are jackasses, it's going to be the worst decision I've ever made. And your family was so lovely. To the point that you screened the film for my dad when he was in the hospital a few weeks ago. I want to show a clip about his reaction from doctors.
These doctors keep talking to me about people who, if you tell them the truth, then they just give up and die, that you really want to. And I keep saying to them, just tell me. Just tell me. That's all I want to know, Some say, well, it's not good. And I say, well, it's just, and it really drives me crazy. But then I talk to other doctor friends of mine and say that most people, that's not what they want to hear. Why wouldn't they want to hear? Why wouldn't they want to spend a few more days here, Well,
Meghan, actually 8 days after hearing the cancer diagnosis, he returned to the Senate floor to vote on the health care bill, and his doctors didn't want him to fly, and you didn't want him to fly.
Mark
Can you
was
tell
there.
us how that conversation went?
You know what? We had a conversation, Mark. The thing, what I was saying last week about my father's staff being like family is true. Mark is like an uncle to me, and we had this whole conversation literally at Mayo Clinic where the doctors were like, I paraphrase the movie, but basically your brain could explode if you get on a plane this soon after brain surgery. And I was like, you're all crazy. He's gonna die, whatever. And he in the room, and I was screaming, which I don't normally do. And he said, it's my life. It's my choice. And by the way, there was a graph of like the lifeline of someone with glioblastoma. And I remember talking to you and you were like, this is how this is how he lives, this is how he does everything. But that plane ride was horrible, I will say.
Yeah.
Why was it so important for him to be there?
Well, he had something he wanted to say to the Senate even before he was diagnosed, and I'm sure that added greater urgency to it. But he wanted to say that the Senate's gotten away from its traditions of working together in a country of 325 million opinionated people. That you can only make incremental progress on the problems of our time by working together. And he wanted that used to be the Senate tradition. It was when he was the Navy's liaison officer to the Senate, and he wanted to urge his colleagues to get back there and to speak of his affection for the place, because he's been called a maverick, and so, but he does love the institution he served in for over 30 years.
No, it's you.
Oh, Mark, in the book and the documentary, Senator McCain looks back on 2008.
Yeah.
And he voices that he regrets not having picked Joe Lieberman. That might have been misconstrued when people quote that. Can you clear that up?
Yeah, he did want to pick his friend Joe Lieberman, who is a Democrat, and the senator just won the Republican nomination for president. And when that started to leak out to party elders, I guess we could call them, they were quite adamant that there'd be a challenge on the floor, and it would be a mess, and your convention would be upset, and it'd be a bad way to start the general campaign. So we prevailed, Rick Davis, me, and other of John's advisors, convinced him not to pick Lieberman. He then went and looked at the pool of other candidates and chose Governor Palin. He didn't regret choosing Governor Palin. He regretted not picking Joe Lieberman, but once he was persuaded not to, he picked her, and he's never said anything, he never regretted it, private or public, since. So I think that was misunderstood.
Yeah. Well, Teddy, one of the most talked about moments from the 2008 campaign was when Senator McCain stood up for President Obama after one of his supporters said he was an untrustworthy Arab. Now, you spoke to President Obama about this in the documentary. What did he say?
President Obama was touched, in the middle of John being attacked from all sides, to stand up for what he knew was right and to tell this woman, no, ma'am, right away, without missing a beat.
That's right.
No, ma'am, he is a good American citizen.
Loves his family.
He loves his family.
Loves his country.
It was a testament to John and his character that he wouldn't let the politics, fuel the fire.
Yeah.
And Megan, you've said that your dad has remained positive throughout the diagnosis, and in the documentary he talks about how he looks at the rest of his life. So let's take a look first.
I know that this is a very vicious disease. I greet every day with gratitude. And I will continue to do everything that I can. But I'm also very aware that none of us live forever. I'm confident, and I'm happy, and I'm very grateful for the life I've been able to lead, and I greet the future with joy.
What do you hope your dad's legacy will be?
Well, first of all, Teddy, it's beautiful. And thank you for doing such a justice to him, because I was very nervous when you guys came out, because it's very personal to have someone come into your family at this time, and they were at our ranch, and it was very intense. His legacy speaks for itself, but I want to say, and Mark, you and I have talked about this so many times, that I'm just not scared of death the way I once was, because I know now he's going to be waiting for me on the other side, and he's taught me what life is really about. And he always has, but the last year in particular, and he's so brave, and coming together as a country and not delving into this crap that we're at right now of divisiveness and not being able to speak to the other side, and that you have to hate the other person, and we have no decency, and death jokes are acceptable, and you can never apologize. That is not the McCain way, and it's never gonna be.
It's not the American way. Not the American way. That's not how we roll. As Americans, that's not how we roll, and that's why Americans are so angry that this seems to be the precipice we're on. But I think there's too many of us saying, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. We can disagree, but we can never disparage each other that way.
Yeah. Mark, I love you very much. Teddy, you as well. Thank you. All right, our thanks to Mark Salter and Teddy Kunhardt. The HBO documentary film John McCain, For Whom the Bell Tolls, debuts May 28th on HBO. And members of our audience are going home with my dad's new book, The Restless Wave. We'll be right back.
Couples wonder if they should shack up before getting married. An expert says it can go either way. It does give you a test drive to live under the same roof, apparently. But if you're not already committed before moving in, you're more likely to divorce. This is really complicated. What does this mean? I guess one is saying if you don't do it, you may get divorced because you start living together and it goes to hell in a handbasket. And other people say, well, you should do it because it will make it easier.
Yeah, you're going to want to take that car off the lot a little and look under the hood. Just make sure everything's good before
Check the oil. I didn't live with Manny before we got married, and I don't think we would have gotten married had we lived together. I mean, we fought nonstop about the fact that I used too much toilet paper, apparently. And I don't think we would have made it. honestly.
Do you have an issue with that?
I don't use too much toilet paper.
She also buys the cheap stuff, though.
Yes, I buy, my toilet paper apparently is too cheap. So you have to roll it around your hand. Who cares? Anyway.
Okay.
So congratulations, Sonny.
Oh.
How was the commencement?
I think I should be called Dr. Sonny now.
Oh, geez.
How about Dr. Hostin?
Dr. Hostin. Well, I got a Doctor of Laws from my alma mater, Binghamton University, and I gave my first commencement speech. I did. I talked about you guys. I talked about you gals, and I also talked about the need for this generation to use their voice for change.
Very good. We'll be right back.
It is, if Martha Stewart calls you Hostin,
Next, View Your Deal is upgrading your Monday. We partnered with vendors for up to 75% off awesome items to kick off your week on the right foot.
There's nothing like a View Your Deal to make Mondays better. And we partnered with vendors for up to 75% off, but it's only while supplies last. So let's get shopping with lifestyle expert and my friend, Greta Monahan.
So glad to be here with you. I'm so excited. Wait until you see what I have you. I know. So starting
You too
off,
could own this leg.
wait till you see Tommy Copper compression wear. This is what I'm showing you. So check it out. This is premium compression wear, but check these. These are the leggings. I'm bringing you everything. They have men's, women's, and children. The leggings, you got 360 degrees of compression. So what that does is it energizes our legs. The fabric is patented. It is super soft, lightweight, wicks away moisture, and what's great is these little guys that you were pointing to, those are targeted items for the knees and the ankles. Check it out.
Well, looks
This
like a
little
Christmas
opening.
story lamp.
I know. So that you can run around in the summer and have extra support. Amazing pieces. You can wear them under or over clothes.
And it sucks you in a little.
Yeah, it does. Original price on these, $14 to $64.50. Today's deal, $6 to $32.50 to be comfortable. 50 to 75% off. Okay, next must-have. This is a red carpet, best kept secret. Pre-heels blister prevention. This is a set. Okay, so you know summer heels usually mean, unfortunately, blisters and bandaged feet. No more. You just take this, you shake it, you spray it on your heel.
What
let
about
it
on the
dry
top, where it rubs on the top?
Sure. Let it dry for 90 seconds, and guess what? Under your shoes.
Oh,
let it dry. And then you just let it dry, slip your feet in, and you have a barrier that prevents blisters. It's the best, you guys. Nothing. You look beautiful.
How long should it dry?
You gotta have it. Only let it dry 90 seconds. Original price on this, $25. Today's deal, $12.50 for the set. Take one and leave one at home.
It's working already.
Perfect pressure.
Oh,
you guys
you've
are,
had
oh yeah,
these
Topper
before.
Plus. This allows couples and individuals to customize the firmness of their mattress on both sides of the bed. Check it out. Place the 3-inch ultra foam topper on your mattress, and the adjustable inserts that you see here are exactly how you make it firm to soft. So
if you like a
I
harder
leave them
mattress
in for firm, you leave all 8 in, but if you take them out, you can take them all the way out, all the way to extra soft. What's cool about this is you don't need a new bed. It completely makes over a mattress
And
that's
mattresses
old.
are expensive.
And yeah, you guys can have different firmness selections on either side of the bed. So for a couple,
You can agree to disagree.
It's a beauty sleep maker. Original price on these, $175 to $250. Today's deal, you can't beat it, $87.50 to $125 for a brand new makeover on your beauty sleep.
Save a
half
mattress?
off.
That's
Okay.
amazing.
Of course. Now, poopery. Toilet
Say
and
it again.
Poopery. With a little model that goes something like this. Spritz the bowl before you go, and no one will ever know. Has a legion of fans, this line, for your bathroom, which I love with my boys. It's very important.
What is it?
But also, you're using the shoe spray.
Oh, that's a shoe.
And I don't leave home without it. So you spritz that. It's shoe-pery. Don't worry, I already hit your dressing room.
We could have gotten a little more floral
So
or
pick
something.
whatever sets you want, and the new sets are tropical for summer, but these are must-haves. So great for everybody in the house. Original price on these, $50. You pick your set online. Now, today's deal, get ready, $24 per set. Savings of 52% off. Okay.
And I learned from one of Alex's books that everyone poops. So you definitely, everyone can use these.
That's something we teach them early on. So Karen products. This is paint, light up lip gloss. No light, no mirror, no problem. Guess what? You just fixed it up. I love this, Sarah, because in the summer we don't necessarily want to wear a bag.
You could use it for a selfie,
just like
too.
me. I slipped it right into my pocket. I'm all set.
That's
Love these
adorable.
17 luxe colors, and here's the thing: in the spring and summer, a new color gives you a zip of style, but it's also soft and creamy and lightweight, which
These
is
are great,
incredible.
and they don't stick.
No stickiness at all. Original price on these $20. Today's deal $10 for a spring summer style pick-me-up. Can't beat it.
Because you have the mirror and the light.
And that just gives you style. Okay, Lulu Dharma color block tote. Now, I had to bring this, and I chose it because the Duchess of Sussex, formerly known as Meghan Markle, made this tote style popular. She made it an iconic staple, this shape. And I chose the color block pattern to bring us because that's really what pushes it into a cool now trend. And I love it because this fits everything, you guys. Laptops, my iPad Pro, my diapers, my bottles, everything I could ever need, day or night, and it's a soft vegan leather.
When did she make this happen?
This was when she showed up with Harry at the Invictus Games. She was wearing a cute little, that tote style right there, check it out. And that is when, and also I want to say Angelina Jolie wears it, but
No,
Meghan
you had me at Meghan
made
Markle.
it famous because you could not get this tote anywhere in that shape and style. So she really made the silhouette just everybody's go-to bag. And that's why I brought this one for you today.
How many colors does it come in?
6 different colors.
So this is everything
color
right
block.
here.
Yeah, and the color block is just totally new and fresh, and I love that. So this is a must-have bag. Original price on these, $128. Megan paid more. Original deal today, our deal, $39 for a savings of 70% off.
If it's good enough for Meghan Markle, it is good enough for us.
That's
Big thank you to Greta Monahan. The clock is ticking, people. You have 24 hours to get these amazing deals at viewer.com.